Hey, long time no see. Last time I made an introduction to this channel. In this video I'm going to explain some of the projects I've been working on. Let's take a look. Lately I've been building these robotic eyes. They're made of PLA, just like most of my other prints, but if you look closely you notice that there's actually a camera inside. In fact, there are two cameras. One for visible light and one for infrared. Infrared is easier to use in low light conditions, so I wanted to experiment with that. Next up, the movement. I didn't just want the eyes to move left, right, up and down, I also wanted them to be able to focus on the same point, which meant giving each eye its own independent servos. As you can see, there are 3 servos in total that control the eyes. One for the x-axis, which moves the eyes up and down, and 2 z-axis servos, which control horizontal movement, one for each eye. This setup works because the eyes don't have to be perfectly horizontal to each other. They just need to align and look at the same target in front of them. To power the servos and cameras, I'm using a Raspberry Pi 4 for the right eye, because that's the only one I had left available, and a Raspberry Pi Zero for the left. For the servos, I used an HCPCA board that can control up to 16 servos, which is useful if I want to add a neck movement later. That's connected to the Pi 4 and powered by a 5V 10A power supply. So now the eyes can move. For the software, I decided to use a YOLO for object detection and use SSH to connect to the eyes. I also made a simple GUI for manual control and calibration. All I had to do was calibrate the eye movement so that it didn't exceed their physical limits, because that could drain too much power or even damage the servos. Once calibrated, I could move them manually. Great, it works. Now, here's the awesome part. What if the eyes could move automatically? I thought about different options. I could make them track motion or train them to recognize specific objects. For now, I set them to recognize faces. Once a face is detected, I calculate how far off center it is in the image and use that to adjust the eye position. That's when I ran into a challenge. If I set the movement too high, the eyes would over-rotate and become a bit jumpy. But if I set it too low, the tracking was too slow. So I had to fine-tune the movement until it felt just right. I might automate that calibration later, but for now this setup works. And that's it. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the robotic eyes. They're still a bit slow and sometimes fail to recognize my face, but once I start solving practical problems with them, those issues will become more important to address. Until then, I'll just keep building and experimenting. If you have any thoughts or feedback about this video or the format, please let me know in the comments. I'm still figuring it all out. Anyway, until next time, take care. See ya.